right, after so many years, I'm finally, I don't want to say finally, because I was never planning on it, but I'm getting rid of my DVD collection. I'm selling them to Amoeba Records. Selling them all. Not getting store credit. I want cash. But I started this collection right whenever DVDs came out, I guess end of middle school. And I'm just gonna go through them. So with they're in 3 boxes. The main collection, the horror collection, and the TV collection. So I've gone through that main collection and I've put them all back from the envelopes into the DVD cases. And I'm gonna, well, for myself here, for posterity, go through them all. Say what I gotta say about them. Ace Ventura. I remember watching the first Ace Ventura film, renting it on VHS when I was a kid, watching it in the upstairs bedroom for some reason. Maybe my dad was just doing something downstairs. But I loved it, of course, even if I didn't get it all. And then the second one I remember seeing in theaters, being like, that was great too. I remember the second Ace Ventura. My family friends were special effects people, and they were working on it and saying they were working on the big old fake alligator or crocodile. And they said at that point it was like where he goes to Africa, and I got in my head that it was going to be called Ace Goes to Africa, but I think When Nature Calls was the better title. And this comes with the cartoon. I don't think I ever watched that, at least when I bought it. Airplane, I mean, you know, if you like these silly movies, must own. Amadeus, I think I rewatched this. Well, this is part of why I think I'm getting rid of these all finally, is like I went to watch this on my DVD and I was like, oh, I just want to watch it on I'd rather watch the HD version. so yeah, but that was great. Oh, I remember I saw this at a screening of I volunteered at the Mill Valley Film Festival for a few years, and one of the years they did a Milos Forman retrospective, and I got to like kind of meet him, hold his seat, and it was really cool seeing that movie. And One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest in theaters. This is literally one of my favorite movies, American movie. It's in my top, maybe my third favorite movie, definitely in the top 5. But if you haven't seen it, I mean, it was the 1999 Sundance hit. What I love about it, oh boy, it's one of my favorite films. It is terrific, it is funny, it's inspiring. Roger Ebert, 2 thumbs up. It's like gets into some interesting stuff, you know, calling it American movie about the American dream and what that might mean. And I think it's sort of in a very like, it's one of those movies that says maybe we're living, and it reminds us we're living in what we are nostalgic about, you know, at any given time. Does that make sense? What we're nostalgic about later on is actually what we're living any given time. And I don't know, when a film can communicate that in a sort of, you know, not spoken way, it's pretty moving and profound. And that's saying something for a movie that people sometimes think is a mockumentary. No, it is a documentary, and it's one of my favorites. Go with the Americans. American Splendor. This one I remember is at the Rafael. It was great. Paul Giamatti. It was a little too like, it is great. It's a great film, but it's a very dire watch. But I mean, it's fun kind of that R. Crumb got a movie about him, and it's cool. It does a lot of like self-aware, or like not self-aware, well, I guess self-aware, but like, you know, messes with the form in certain different ways. Oh, it comes with this comic book too. Did I say, sorry, I meant to say Harvey Pekar, not R. Crumb. But Harvey R. Crumb is a character in it. American Pie, unrated, the version you couldn't see in theaters. I don't think I did see this in theaters, but I mean, it was great. It was solid comedy. I don't know if it'd hold up now. It's kind of one of those I'm almost afraid to revisit, but it's great. It's great. They're all great in it. That's what makes it. Finch, Jason Biggs, Amores Perros. This was a present from my friend Denise in film school. But it's a great film, but it is a hard watch because of the cruelty or the dog abuse the subject matter is all about. But it is really good, and you have to. This is another present from my bud Jesse. I remember watching it a couple times. It was cool because it's kind of just like a grab bag of Monty Python's skits and stuffs, but presented as a feature film. It was good. Animal House. I feel like this was just one of those like bought it because this is probably speaks more just to how many DVDs I was buying for without really so thinking of it just as a collection because like really it's not that great a movie, but like I can see why it was as big as it was. But the shout scene, of course, that everyone remembers it for is great. It's really good. Annie Hall, just love it. Nothing to be said. It's great. Best Woody Allen gets. Apocalypse Now. Is this both versions? No, the theatrical. No. I think it's just the theatrical version, but either way, God, this movie's so good. But I mean, if I'm going to see it again, it's not going to be watching it on DVD. It'll be big screen, big sounds somehow. I don't even know if I watched this ever when I bought it. Apollo 13, I don't remember anything about it. This was like I think a later tier purchase, but like Twins, Kindergarten Cop, and Junior. Oh my God, I still am Arnold obsessed, but even if you're moderately Arnold obsessed, just needing to have these at handy was important. And then Austin Powers. This is another one I'm like been wanting to revisit, but wonder if it will hold up. I'm almost afraid if it doesn't. But I mean, it just seems like it's so classic, and seems like maybe it just because of that get better with age. I mean, they're both great in it. Oh yeah, except there's what's his face in it? Who plays number 2? Who I think played a big part in Natalie Wood's death. Robert, whatever. I don't know. Robert Wagner. His scenes will be kind of weird watching, just thinking like what he did. The first of the Kubricks. I'll probably get through all of them with my DVDs here. Actually, no, I did do an initial round. These aren't all the DVDs I ever had in my collection, because anything that I sort of upgraded to Blu-ray that I had on DVD, I already had gotten rid of. But there's one thing about these DVDs, though, that maybe I was holding them onto too, is that you can actually watch them in the in like the non 16:9 version. That's a little closer to what the pan and scan ratio, but is actually not panning and scanning. That was his original aspect ratio he intended. I don't know, I've always heard conflicting things on that. Don't forget the numbered ones. 56 Up. I actually never watched this one. I bought I think recently at a video store or something that was closing. I've seen all of them up to this one, but I don't know. I maybe I should watch it before getting it. No, I'll just if you want to watch, if I'm gonna watch this one, I want to rewatch them all leading up to it. Cause I'm crazy like that. So, and then I feel like, when did this come out? 2012. So this year we're supposed to be due for 63 Up. Maybe I'll just wait for that. That's fun. I watched those all through in film school. Or I mean, like, not in as part of the school, but just on my own. They're great. Okay. Batman, of course, big on Tim Burton. Big Lebowski, one of the best, of course, Coen brothers. Biloxi Blues. I feel like I watched this a couple times, but this is one of those movies where it was like, I just get so excited about it for what it was. What? There's a Matthew Broderick, Christopher Walken movie. Da 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 da. Oh, it's supposed to be good. I don't remember it being good. It was fun, but I don't remember the last time I watched it or much about it. Blues Brothers. I just recently saw it in theaters at the Egyptian. But I mean, now I'm set. I don't need the DVD of it. But it's like, seriously, it's so good. The Blues Brothers, special film. This is another one I've been wanting to revisit more actively than the other ones. Yeah, I should watch it. It was just one of those that I like watched to death when I had the DVD. I actually had the movie stub in here. I just took it out. But so it was like I avoided it for so long because I watched it so many times. But it's certainly been a long time now. One of those 1999 films when people refer to that. It's a great year film. Breakfast Club, I guess it's John Hughes classic. I don't know, yeah, I remember it's not my favorite, but it was good. Bugs Life. This was one of my first DVDs. Even though I always kind of liked Ants better, if you're going to compare the two Ant CG movies, I don't know. This one, a lot of people aren't crazy about it, but maybe it was just Dave Foley's voice. There was always something that I liked about it. Oh my God, this is one of the best. Joe Dante is the first filmmaker I sort of put together as a filmmaker. I would say hopefully it's great. It's one of the other best ones. Cable Guy. I remember seeing this in theaters at the Larkspur Landing Theater with my friend Ian when it came out, and it was like, after Ace Ventura and the Mask, like everyone says, we were there for that, saying, we're expecting something a little different. But I loved the how kind of dark and weird it was, like something enough to own it. And apparently there was a cut that existed. I heard, from the person who did the music for it. He said that there was an original cut of the film that was much more in line with the vision of the director Ben Stiller, of just embracing the kind of offbeatness and darkness of it. But then they went through the studio and just found as many, made sure all the takes were as Jim Carrey as possible. But God, I'd love to see that original director's cut. All right, yeah, another Kubrick. Just keep going down the line. So I was huge on this movie too. Confessions of the Dangerous Mind, directed by George Clooney. This was cool. It was all about that CIA guy who was what was it? While Maverick, creator of America's favorite game show, gains notoriety for his smash television hits, he's also drawn into a shady world of danger as a covert government operative. Yep, it was exactly that. Oh, right, and based on his autobiography. But this was kind of just like, for me, like prime, Sam Rockwell. It's just like, if you're going through Sam Rockwell phase, you gotta watch that. It was fun, some fun creative stuff in the filmmaking too. I liked handing it to George Clooney for that one. I've not seen this in a long time, but I mean, this was huge when it came out, so I just bought the DVD and I think watched it a couple times. Then, I'd be curious to revisit it. They did a sequel. Das Boot. Oh my God, talk about one of the great war epics. Wolfgang Petersen. This is his ultimate version. So what does that mean? It's not the full mini-series, but it's the director's cut. I'm pretty sure this disc is a disc you have to flip. 209 minutes. Death Race 2000. I think my friend Arn told me about this movie, and that was all I needed to buy it. It was so schlocky, but great. I remember the first half was fun, but then it's always something weird about, like, isn't it a race, but they kind of like stop and like hang out at their weird like future hotels and stuff, and like, I don't know, it loses its agency, but pretty fun, silly. And then Diner, I remember my friend Jesse's dad telling us, if you like American Graffiti and those films, then you gotta see Diner. There's some good stuff in it, there's some bad stuff in it, but if you're you're going through it's one I should see again, going through your Up All Night films and 60s, 50s set, early 60s set films, definitely. I was so huge on American Graffiti though. That's my favorite. That's one that was in here in the Americans, but I upgraded to Blu-ray. Dog Day Afternoon. Haven't seen this in a long time, but this is really good. Good enough to buy, at least at the time. Dumb and Dumber, more Jim Carrey fun. This is another one I'm afraid to revisit. God, I wish that sequel was good. I didn't see it, but only heard terrible things. Election, oh my God, this film's great. there was a Criterion release of this, so if I was ever to buy it again, it would be that, and I would. It is that fun. Just like what are the Paynes, Alexander Payne and Jim Taylor. Sorry, they aren't brothers. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I think Alexander Payne. This is so much movie that came through in this movie. That's why it's so good. Dear friend, good friend, bought me this one. We had fun watching it, drinking vodka. Ernest's greatest hits. Those were just like in sort of an almost mind-numbing succession, like all of his ads, where he originally started in. So a lot of Ernest. I mean, I love Ernest, but it was is not the best. The later films though that he was in, Ernest Goes to Africa, Ernest in the Army. I would just rather rewatch Ernest Scared Stupid again. That's one of my favorite movies. But I still love Ernest. I mean, I was happy to have that in my collection. The Explorers, another Joe Dante film. Yeah. I just love, like, the sense of adventure that, like, comes from this is just the best as these movies get when they're building it and testing out the ship. And I don't know, it's just the feel of, like, his little workshop. It's just so good. And as a kid, the silly alien stuff, that was all fine. More Kubrick, Eyes Wide Shut, getting through it. One, like, kind of like, all good films really grows on you the more as time goes on, the more I see it. Fast Times at Ridgemont High, it's like, I don't know if I actually ever need to see it again. Because, like, I don't know, whatever. High praise, I know. Only on the F's here. Father Bride, 15th anniversary edition. I wonder when this come out. It's because it's been more than 15 years now. I mean, it's a pretty new classic. The Steve Martin, I love Martin Short in it. Diane Keaton. Ferris Bueller's Day Off, of course. All right. Fiddler on the Roof. I got a soft spot for musicals, and this one especially. It's long though. It's long. Like, it's not one I just put on every day. I'll probably want to see it in theaters if I watch it again. Fifth Element. It's so good. Flight of the Navigator. Paul Rubens is the voice. More Kubrick, getting through it. These iconic. These feel like these were the same design as the Kubrick VHS box set that had come out. Sort of maybe about the same time, but it's pretty iconic, distinct, at least. Look to them. I think Kubrick movies on home video. Galaxy Quest. I remember going to see Galaxy Quest in the theaters at the Metreon in San Francisco. It was so good. It's another one I've been wanting to revisit, especially now I started watching Star Trek, The Next Generation. But this was another one that, similarly to Bowfinger, I just feel like I watched it so much that I'm afraid, I wore it out. I squeezed it too hard. But, it's been long enough. That's why I want to revisit it. I've got Ghostbusters, but also Ghostbusters 2. I mean, it's just more Ghostbusters. Like, it's great. You got Janosch. It's great. Godzilla, the 1998 remake with Matthew Broderick. A lot of people would probably give me a bad time for this one, but whatever. I mean, the Godzilla is kind of lame, I admit it, but I think I bought it because, like, it is technically also Matthew Broderick versus Godzilla, and then, like, just him as, like, the Matthew Broderick scientist in those early scenes, just, like, digging up earthworms and putting together, this Godzilla. I don't know, it's just something about, it's technically, as kind of terrible as it is in the end, it is Matthew Broderick in a Godzilla movie. So, Gangs of New York. Yeah, I was kind of me and a couple friends were one friend specifically was kind of obsessed with this movie. For good reason? I think so. It's been years since I've watched it. The Gold Rush. So there's a handful. There's like 4 Charlie Chaplin films I have here that came in a little box set. And there's one in particular I watched over and over. It was one of my favorites. But this is one of the ones I think I just bought the set and watched once, The Gold Rush. I'm sure it was fine. Chaplin's great. Gladiator. I think until Inherent Vice, this was the film that I saw most times in theaters. Like, just those action scenes were just, it's still in the realm of where it was like before CG took over. It was still like gritty and grounded, and it had a score that was memorable. You could follow the action. It like had that sort of Braveheart level violence that felt realistic. Oh my god, this was just the best. This is another one I've been wanting to revisit, but you know, I'm spoiled with how I go about it. Glory. Sure, it's good. And now when I kind of like think of the ending, it feels like forced. The director, Edward Zwick, I feel like he hasn't done anything well, but he did a movie called, is it Pawn Sacrifice or something? But it was like in the last few years, a movie about Bobby Fischer, the chess champion, and it was kind of like the most by the numbers biopic kind of thing. It did not do well, but I saw it. And when I think of just sort of people packaging a film and just sort of explaining, oh, like, these are, you know, this clearly makes it a great thing. We got the director of Glory, da-da-da-da-da. But no, it actually just kind of made it felt like it was a movie not from its time. But this movie is of its time, so it's probably much better. And hey, my bud Matthew Broderick again, who seems like maybe the most reoccurring actor in these films. See? Okay, GoldenEye, just my favorite James Bond movie. But the James Bond movies, I'm not crazy about the newer ones. I don't think I've seen them all. I've seen most of them. Don't really feel like they're just so like self-serious. I love GoldenEye, and I rewatched Tomorrow Never Dies. Not as good, but that was another one I watched a bunch. This is, I feel like, the good film amongst the James Bond movies, if I remember correctly. I mean, it's the impression I remember. But I like the Roger Moore ones, actually. People aren't crazy about those, but I like the kind of like kitschiness that those are. Graduate, need not say much, if anything. The Great Dictator, getting through the Chaplin films. Again, one I think I watched. Oh, these had great special features too, so I probably ate those up. But when I bought these, you know, circa college, I think it was last time I watched that one at least. Grosse Pointe Blank, I think I just went through a phase with this film where it was just kind of like, you get the cult factor of it, but it actually honestly like never totally clicked with me. But I mean, because the actors and the story, it's all gravy, all good. Happy Gilmore is like my standout Adam Sandler favorite film. Like this was like a sick day movie. I just loved this movie. I don't know what about it made it different from his other stupid Adam Sandler comedies, but like this for me is the one. A lot of people, it's Billy Madison, but I love this movie. Hard Eight, not my favorite Paul Thomas Anderson, but I mean, it's probably not anybody's. I don't even think I really watched it again after I bought it. It was just like, oh, yeah, Paul Thomas Anderson. Harold and Maude, it's great. I love it when she's playing the piano and stands up from playing the piano. And the sort of the not just offbeatness, but the sort of like he sets himself on fire and then is totally fine. Just whatever that kind of like it feels like it has that sort of real life, not grittiness, but you know, 70s grittiness of like The Graduate. Yet you have these sort of unrealistic elements to it, or like magic realism almost. No, that's not the right term. Fantastical almost. I don't know. This is Harold and Maude. That's what it was. My favorite Harry Potter movie. I mean, this one was just so good. They're still like, you know, Hogwarts is right in the middle of your schooling. All right. Getting through it. Home Alone. Just the first one. Need that thing. Homeward Bound. I can just hear the music now. Oh my god. This was great. Something about that movie. As a kid especially. Hudsucker Proxy. Another, overlooked sometimes Coen Brothers one, but totally works as a. Oh, I mean, Jennifer Jason Leigh, I think she kind of made the movie for me. I love the way they talk, and Bruce Campbell's in it too as a bit pot. Independence Day. I mean, I remember I was obsessed with this movie when it came out. The action figures. I actually am a pretty big fan of the sequel. I won't say more than that. It's a mad, 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 mad world. I remember like, oh, this one I bought. Oh no, it's supposed to be a classic, and it was good, but like, I don't really know or recognize these stars, from when I was growing up. It was before my time, and it's long. It's just long. 2 hours 41 minutes. My it's Mad 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 World was Rat Race, which I believe is in this collection somewhere. Yep. It's a Wonderful Life. It is just one of the best movies. Oh my god, yeah. Donna Reed. So good. But they show it every year on Christmas. Jason the Argonauts. I love this movie too. I think I bought it like not knowing whether I remember like the Golden Voyage of Sinbad kind of more as a kid, like watching that on TV, and I think I thought it was this movie, but I still love both these movies. I'm like, oh, this was the Skeletons one. Yeah, I should read it. These Ray Harryhausen movies are just so cool. I love that sense of adventure. Kind of a precursor to my love of Hercules: The Legendary Journeys. JP, gotta love JP. Such one of my favorite movies. Also, big defender of The Lost World. Also, defender of Jurassic Park 3, which not a lot of people are. The King of Comedy. My friend Nick, I just asked him the other day, oh, what do you think of are you into Scorsese? And he says, yeah, but King of Comedy, that's my jam. That's my favorite. And it is great. I think I learned about this through, again, the same dad's friend's dad who introduced me to Diner. Rupert Pumpkin. This is one I really want to watch again, but again, I'll find it in HD because I'm picky like that. I was obsessed with this movie. I remember it came out here. I saw it at the New Art Theater. King of Kong, A Fistful of Quarters. Turns out I think the bad guy, Billy, in it actually was cheating, which makes sense when you see it. But it's a really fun just how it's real life, so it feels weird that they do this, but it's just really fun and engaging how they sort of have a hero and a villain and build that as the documentary around that, and it works. All right, Little Shop of Horrors. I mean, yeah, I already told you I love musicals, but I mean, it's Rick Moranis. Like, I don't know, it's just the best of cinema. I remember this one was like a later. These DVDs here are the New Line Cinema Warner Brothers like sort of go-to cases. I remember this one taking a while to come out, and I'd been wanting it, and it was like, oh, they're still doing it in these packages though. It's got the alternate ending. I think you can watch with the. Oh no, it doesn't. Does it? I don't know, but there's that great alternate ending. Where they destroy the world. See, another one of these cases for another wonderful comedy film, Loaded Weapon 1, National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1, Emilio Estevez and Samuel L. Jackson. So many stupid gags in this that I remember so clearly thinking about it right now. I just love so much, but I mean, I can just recommend it for Samuel L. Jackson alone. Just watching him in such a silly role and silly film is a lot of fun. Legend, great fantasy film. I mean, yeah, anyone who loves this movie, it's like, I wonder what the movie is that we remember and what it actually is, or maybe not. I don't even know. I mean, it's how things rise to the top as time goes on. Cool. Got a lot of bonus materials, but it's been quite a few years, so I want to see that again. Leon the Professional. I was pretty obsessed with this movie. I started making a spoof of it in high school with my friend Levi, who my dad accidentally would call Eli, or did it once and it took. So I was making Eli the Professional, and it was like where it's that same, like I was using the music for it, and it was like the Stern kind of like same, yeah, Stern style, and like he had this bunny rabbit in it, and that was fun. Never finished that though. Limelight. This is not my favorite one. We aren't there yet. As far as I mentioned, the ones I watched over and over. But I remember watching this one as kind of different from his other ones, but still really good. He's older. Lolita, keep going down the Kubrick films. This one's great. Of course, they're all great. It's Kubrick. First Mad Max. Gotta love it. I actually am not crazy about Magnolia. I'm sorry. Man on the Moon, I mean, I bought this just because, I mean, I don't remember why or when I bought it exactly, but it was sort of only years later when I really took a new liking to it or had a new appreciation for it after I sort of got into Andy Kaufman more as an adult, you know, read his biography. I think this film is a really good, smart extenuation of the Andy Kaufman-ness. And and there's that new movie on Netflix with it's the documentary on it. That's great too. But I mean, yeah, I think Jim Carrey did a fine job at channeling the essence and spirit of Andy Kaufman to give us this movie. Because like at first I thought it was just kind of, I think when I saw it at the time, it felt like it was just a sort of another kind of, you know, by the book biopic, and it is, but there's a certain self-awareness to it, like as if, imagine the film from the perspective if all the filmmakers believed Andy Kaufman was still alive and it was all kind of a joke of sorts. And that's what I meant, an extenuation of Andy Kaufman. It plays that way in an interesting way. But it's still, but because I don't know, it coalesces into something a bit beyond the standard formula of the biopic. Man Who Would Be King, I remember this being one that was like the kind of the dad recommended movie, but that was actually, you know, really good. 4 stars, swashbuckling adventure from the hand of a master. But I mean, you got Michael Caine and Sean Connery just on this kind of like silly kind of adventure. I mean, they kind of just end up at the same place, stay there. Forgot to say about Man on the Moon, also directed by Milos Forman, that I mentioned earlier. Mars Attacks. I mean, this and Sleepy Hollow are the last great Tim Burton movies I've seen, or as far as I'm concerned. I remember seeing this for like whatever birthday I had around that time, and like going back after and playing. I'd just gotten the N64. Life was good. Going to see Mars Attacks, N64. I think this is where my crush on Natalie Portman started. It's funny saying because I don't feel that way now, but like, you know, I was that right age for her in this, and Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Watched through all these ones, that was great. Marx Brothers. They're funny. Pretty funny people. Alright. Mary Poppins. In my top 15 favorite films, this is special magic. Disney's still milking it too, as they are with all their properties that are filled with some real magic. Oh my god, The Matrix. Do you remember when this came out and going to see it for the first time? Just like, whoa. It was, I feel like this is the DVD that was just on everyone's shelf, and I have it's one I also watched to death, and it's been many years. I want to see it again, so I'm excited to see it again. But like, I can still remember it so clearly. Me, myself, and Irene. Remember my dad taking me to this one. It was like pretty adult, and I think I was more uncomfortable. He was cracking up when like he was pissing himself from his erection. You know, Jim Carrey in the movie. But I don't know. It kind of grew on me. I kind of liked its filthy, subversive nature of it. I don't know. It kind of was a fun. It was fun to see Jim Carrey like do that little thing, play both of these sides. It was really fun to see him do that. Miami Blues. This is one of the later purchases. I bought this maybe like 4 or 5 years ago when it was the last Edgar Wright stuff, like screenings at the New Beverly he'd do. I forget what he paired this with, but I'd never seen it. I thought it was great, and I lent it to a friend who wasn't as crazy about it, and I have not watched it since that screening. So a DVD that I own that I never watched, but unlike this one, I watched over and over. This was just another like rainy day sick movie. Like, put this on, feel good, Men in Black. And again, I haven't seen it in forever. I'm almost afraid to rewatch it. Here is the Chaplin film that is just one of my favorites. It's one of my favorite films. I got to see it like again to make sure. It's just by the ending I love. Like, I know how like stupid and typical, like how it's a white picket fence, like literal kind of, you know, fantasy he builds, but beyond that sort of stereotypical sexist veneer or whatever, there's a real like sincerity and heart to just sort of the simplicity in his fantasy. It's just like, I have a wife I love, we got a house, what more do we need than that to be happy? Or Monty Python. This is one that's like, you know, so regurgitated and repeated and, you know, referenced that it's like, oh, you feel like you've seen it, but I think it's been long enough. I should watch it again. Mortal Kombat. God, seeing this like in theaters, just that opening theme song blasting. If you were there, you know what I'm talking about. It's stupid, but oh my God, it's so good. It's just so good. God, I want to see that again. One of my favorite movies. It's one of my personal favorites. Mouse Hunt. They say a comedic masterpiece. I don't know if it is comedic, and it is a masterpiece. That's what I agree. But I don't necessarily think it's like funny. It's not laugh out loud funny. It's directed by Gore Verbinski, and it's got that sort of like, his world building is just really transportive. It's kind of like feels like it takes place a long time ago, but it's you know, in a certain era of Americana history, but it doesn't at the same time. It's like the outside modern world is coming in and destroying their old world. But it's got a quirkiness that's this particular kind that I love. A world without string is chaos. That's kind of like, if you get that, which you shouldn't, then you, because no, that's the point. But if that hits here for you, which it does for me, then great. It's a movie for you too. The Mummy. Oh my, talk about like sort of a last bastion of legit adventure films before CG totally took over. God, this was one of them. Brendan Fraser too. It was great. I want to see that again. I think I liked that one enough to buy Mummy Returns, which is not here now, but I realized when I did a first cleansing of my DVDs, I'm like, I don't need Mummy Returns. I don't want to see that again. Naked Gun 2.5, Naked Gun 33 1/3. I mean, also great. There was a spec script written for Naked Gun. It was called Naked Gun What For? And I remember reading some of it. It was great. And it was just so sad that it didn't come together before Leslie Nielsen passed, which is very, very sad. He's the best. I remember this movie too. I'm like, what? It's a movie with Henry Winkler and Michael Keaton and it's whatever. I think this was when I think I made like an effort to go through. Oh, and directed by Ron Howard. Went through an effort to go through what are Henry Winkler's films, because I was huge on the Fonz, and came across this one then and watched them all, and I guess liked enough to buy it, or just was a blind buy. I don't remember. I mean, more great musical, you know, I love those. So if you ask me, like, who do I think is the craziest person who's ever lived, I'd tell you Dan Aykroyd, and the proof is right here. The proof is also when you hear about him, like, talking about his early Ghostbusters films. Not crazy as, like, in an out-of-touch way or a bad way, even though some think that, but just as, like, his you let him go and sort of do his singular vision, you're just like, it's like, is this funny? Is it zany? It's maybe uncomfortable. I don't know. It's certainly unlike anything else. Remember it was my friend Jeff Carlson who first introduced me to this, like when I was around like 14 maybe. He said, oh yeah, it's this movie, God, what's it called? You know, with Chevy Chase, Dan Aykroyd, John Candy. I'm like, what? How have I not heard of this? Well, it's because it's really weird and not a lot of people like it or talk about it. Which is probably on that alone why I wanted to buy it. It's another one I've been needing to revisit, but I just watched to death when I probably got this very DVD. So, you know, the thing I will miss about these DVDs is seeing all the chapter names. Blind Bard. The ones that are quotes: "Do not seek the treasure." Pappy's Dilemma. Back on Top. Anyway. Yeah, I need to see that again. Well, but not there. Orgasmo. I mean, this probably came more from my just South Park fandom, where I had to get this. I remember seeing it. I think I rented it. No, or some like extended cousins rented it in like Vegas, or when we'd stay at this Lake Tahoe, these cabins, and like, yeah, I was too young for it, but at the same time, I liked it. It made an impression. Parenthood. This one I rewatched pretty recently, but again, not the DVD because I wanted it in HD, so I just rented it on iTunes. I mean, yeah, the cast of this is great. It held up pretty well for me. It's a little, there's one scene where it's like, I don't need to go into it, but there's one scene that felt like super dated, but other than that, it's great. This is my all-time favorite film, Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Having it on DVD for the first time after wearing out my VHS, so good. But you know, now we have it on Blu-ray, so thank you, DVD. I was probably most excited for. What are some of your tracks here? Chapters. A Lift from Large Marge. Dream Inside. Angry Andy. That's a good one. I love alliteration. I wonder who writes those. Should captive 4-year-olds, 40-year-olds, and anyone else. Should captivate 4-year-olds, 40-year-olds, and anyone else whose heart is beating. I agree. This is my favorite movie. I don't know what else to say. Primer. Good. Think about this later on. Really good. Return of the Pink Panther is actually, I remember all the Pink Panthers are great except for the first one was kind of boring. And that includes a Shot in the Dark. Which actually, I don't know if they're going to take this when I'm selling it, like the DVD for the actual first Pink Panther. I don't know what happened to it. I feel like, I don't know. I have a few other ones like Speed. I don't know where the DVD wasn't in here. Funny Face DVD wasn't in there. Austin Powers, Spy Who Shagged Me. All the DVDs and sales were missing, but other films that I would have been going through. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. If you've seen it, you know it, or if you like it, you understand. Planet of the Apes. God, I love the new Planet of the Apes actually, and I've really been wanting to revisit all the old ones, including this one. But there's just something about apes. Just love those movies. Producers, Mel Brooks, great. Pulp Fiction, Punch Drunk Love. I remember seeing this in theaters at Northgate. My friend Jesse, I think, when it came out. It was great, and I watched it in film school then. I think film school, they showed it in our sort of theater we had when we were doing our unit on sound. It was fun. But saw it again recently at a Paul Thomas Anderson double screening. What was it with? And what was that outside? I don't know. Quality of Life by Benjamin Morgan and Brant Smith. Brant and Benjamin taught a writing class of ours in Santa Cruz, and part of the curricula was buying their film that they made, so we'd have a reference point for when they're talking about writing a film. But it was also just kind of funny as like a roundabout way to keep selling your DVDs to your students. But whatever, they were cool. I was happy to support them. Rain Man, good film. Raising Arizona, I think, was my favorite high school history teacher's, Mr. Polk's, his favorite film, I believe, was Raising Arizona. Something really good about it. Here we go, Rat Race. I watched this film to death as well. Just something non-stop funny, sure. Quite possibly the funniest movie ever. This is Mark S. Allen of UPN TV. Sure. Funniest movie ever, Rat Race. Funniest movie ever, Requiem for a Dream. No. God, this is a hard watch. I've been wanting to see this one again too, but it's so good. Burstein in it, all of them in it. Or maybe it's just my memory. I don't know. It's been a long time. I gotta see it again. Okay. Revenge of the Nerds. Revenge of the Nerds 2, Nerds in Paradise. Today's day and age, harder to watch. I mean, it was hard to watch then, too. It's kind of weird. They're creeps, but I could relate to being the nerds, as I think we all could in certain ways, which is what I love about this film. They give a speech at the end where it's like they try to get everyone going, raise your hand if you've ever been picked on, if you've ever been da-da-da-da-da. And it actually, I mean, it's hokey, but I liked it. It was where it was going in the end, and it was really funny throughout, just because of like the actors, the characters. They're just like, they're characters, but they're just so funny. The lines, or sometimes it's the delivery of the lines is what makes it. So the actors, both films are exactly 89 minutes. And I think both have the first one definitely, but the second one there's some like, yeah, no, both of them, they have like a sort of musical number, which I love both of those too. Wonder if I think it'd be funny to remake this, but have it be like the jocks are now the underrepresented ones. Revenge of the Jocks. Risky Business. Sure. Oh my god, I watched this movie over and over. Probably my like personal favorite Mel Brooks movie. Just had it so memorized. I watched it so much. That fairy DVD. Goodbye. Thank you for all the good times. Anud. Got to love the Running Man, of course. I always thought it was funny that he was the butcher of Bakersfield. It was like a future Bakersfield where he was framed to have murdered all these people, and then I went to Bakersfield later in life, and I was like, all right, Bakersfield. This is one I've been wanting to revisit. Probably haven't watched it since this DVD, but I feel like I want to see it in theaters. It's that kind of movie. I don't know. Yeah, I do really want to see it again. You know, let's go through some of what I remember being the good Spielberg films. South Park, bigger, longer, uncut. I remember my ex-stepdad took me to see this film when it came out. Another one of 99's great films. Probably like, it's gotta be, it's still within the last 20 years, so I'll say best musical within the last 20 years. God, yeah, the music's so catchy and good. I love South Park, so I love that we have an actually really solid South Park movie to point to. More Kubrick, not in the white case though, because it's Spartacus. I'm Spartacus, you're Spartacus, well, Spartacus. 2-to-1 ratio, not 2-3-5. Interesting. I'll probably see it again in life, but not here. Star Wars. Empire. Return of the Jedi. Special features, bonus materials. I mean, if you can count this as like a movie, if you can count the Star Wars trilogy is one of my favorite movies. I know it's not accurate, but like Star Wars reaches my top 10 if you can count these as a compendium, because it's about the adventure, you know, and to give it the full scope of that adventure, you need all three. That works so well as a trilogy. Another personal favorite, I watched this. This is one of those in the other veins of the ones where I'm like, I watched this a bunch. I've been wanting to revisit it. I have revisited it, and it did stand up, and I love it more than ever. And it was nostalgic for me to watch. I remember, and it was funny being a kid and being into Denise Richards, and then now way more into Dizzy, and like it's like duh, but I don't know. It's funny when you're an older person, where. There was, but I guess aside from that, all the appeal was exactly the same. It was as smart, stupid as ever. Great effects, so subversive too. Stargate, we just rewatched this on Christmas, my sister, mom, and I, and again, like the actually kind of liked it. It's pretty stupid, but I like James Spader in the role and his little adventure he goes on. Stripes, well, just wanted to have this in my collection. I mean, Bill Murray cast, you know, it's like great, but it's not great, you know. they're one of my personal favorites. Super Mario Brothers movie. Maybe I should hold on to this one. There's no Blu-ray release. As far as I know, there may not be an HD release either. Ooh, should I sell this? I don't know. I'll double check that it's not some collector's item, but I doubt it, because even though there's other people like me, I know that they're out there who just do love this movie. I was so bummed they did a 20th anniversary like screening of the film at the New Art. I missed. But like my friend Hiroki, my friend Jesse, they all like, no, that movie's awesome. They're like, great. That's why we're friends. Terminator, first Terminator, which I've been hearing it pop up as this, it's actually kind of more of a horror movie, but its sci-fi elements kind of overshadow that. T2. This is one of the best. Like, God, when you think just action movies like this and Die Hard, right? Does it get any better? I don't know. Liked it way more than any other recent action movies I've seen. Uh-oh. Blowing leaves. Better hide, Sixto. Actually, they aren't, because there's no leaves out there right now. They're just doing this because they are paid. I don't know. It's stupid. Just blowing all the trash from, like, so it all is centered around my place. That's what they do. I'm a defender of T3 as well. I mean, you got Arnold in it, and he's playing the Terminator, and it's like the opening chase scene. I think it's not maybe opening, but like sort of first third chase scene. It's like you can see the budget on display, just the buildings they're driving, that massive truck with the crane thing on it, and like Arnold's on there, and it's like smashing it. Everything was cool. One of the best comedies. It's great. It's an experience you'll never forget, which is why I probably haven't felt like I need to see it again. They're gonna walk by me right now, just you wait. Three Kings, like Galaxy Quest, was another, I saw the 1999 film that I saw at the Metreon for the first time. Something really cool about this film, like I love there was that song, I don't wanna celebrate another day out here, put to this. That was, I don't know, it got that, hit a right tone for me. But like I can't remember much that happens in it. I don't know. Be curious to revisit it. But I remember being in one of the better movies that year. THX 1138. Yeah. This is one I bet, like, Donald Pleasance, Robert Duvall. What day is it? It's Tuesday. I didn't think they came on Tuesdays. I think this is one where there's actually the special edition, kind of, the director's cut, with, like, the new CG. Like, even though I'm not crazy about that, I feel like it's used in some areas where I actually don't mind it so much. But God, the escape at the end, like just the end moment of this film, it's such a good payoff for just when you're trapped in, well, the Civic Center. This was shot in Marin, where I'm from, but just like the white, stark place these people are trapped in, it's really fully realized in a way that I really like, and I'm excited to see it again when I do. Time after time, Malcolm McDowell plays H.G. Wells. He travels back in time to stop Jack the Ripper in modern day, 1970s San Francisco. 1979 maybe? Anyway, this movie's a fun old time, and one that not a lot of people know about, but I recommend it. It's fun. I mean, because of what I just said, Malcolm McDowell with a mustache playing H.G. Wells chases. Oh yeah, and it's David Warner. And it's Mary Steenburgen is is in it too. I told you I had Tomorrow Never Dies. I watched it recently as well. Here it is. Maybe use this for how much I love GoldenEye, but I like this movie too, alright, at least growing up. It wasn't as great revisiting as an adult for sure, but growing up, like, I liked him and Michelle Yeoh in it. I love Jonathan Pryce as the bad guy. Him like controlling the car with the remote. It's all fun. Alright, almost to the end here. We got Total Recall. More Arnold action. This is just right there next to Running Man. It's one of the best Arnold films. Yeah, I don't know what to say about it. It's great. True Lies. We have two Arnold films right next to each other. This though is like, God, this was one I know like the whole family could get behind. I don't think it's been released on Blu-ray, and there's some like story behind that too, like something about having James Cameron's Avatar contract. I don't know. UHF. I discovered this movie early in life, you know, as maybe a 10-year-old, 9-year-old, 11-year-old. But even then, it felt too late that it was coming into my life because I loved it so much. I mean, yeah, just Weird Al. You love him or you don't. Or you're pretty cool with them, and yeah. Unbreakable. I've been meaning to rewatch this soon. I still haven't seen Glass, and it's because I want to watch this, watch Split, and then go see Glass, which I think it might still be at the Dollar Theater right now. But I mean, I remember seeing this in Vegas when it came out. I loved it. Weird Science. Another Bill Paxton one, right after pulling True Lies. I remember watching the show a lot, even more than the movie, but the movie was fun. What About Bob did not hold up when I last watched it. It's pretty bad. I know there's stuff that's like that rises to the top with it again. Oh, baby steps to him tying himself up there, but there's just some baseline things about it that just seems so bad and typical. What's Eating Gilbert Grape? Sure. Why did I buy that? I don't know. I mean, I watched it a few times. Something about it I liked. Wrongfully Accused. I remember seeing this one in theaters. Does not live up to the Naked Guns, but at the time did plenty enough. Really loved it. Wordplay. I think this is in here because it's my filmmaker acquaintance friends I've worked for, Patrick Creedon and Christine O'Malley, the husband-wife documentary producing directing team. This is one of their films. I feel bad maybe getting rid of it now, but I mean, that's what I'm here doing. And lastly, Young Frankenstein. So good. Terry Garr, Peter Boyle. I mean, I don't just have to say who's in it, but I mean, I think they're playing at the New Beverly. Like, maybe I just missed it, or it's coming up. Maybe it's today. I don't know. It'd be fun to see in a theater, though. The crowd. I love it, but I mean, I love it. It's great. It's way better film in the end than Robin Hood Men in Tights, but Men in Tights will always be my favorite. All right, I'll see you for the horror DVDs next and the TV DVDs next.